The Israelites toiled in Egypt, their backs aching under the weight of heavy stones. Whips cracked, urging them to work faster, building monuments to Pharaoh's glory. Their cries for freedom echoed, a desperate plea reaching the heavens above. God heard their prayers, a compassionate response to their suffering. He chose Moses, a shepherd with a stutter, to lead them to liberation. Moses, hesitant but resolute, accepted God's divine mission. He approached Pharaoh, the most powerful man in Egypt, with a message. "Let my people go," Moses declared, his voice echoing in the throne room. Pharaoh scoffed, his heart hardened against the Israelites' plight. Moses demonstrated God's power, turning his staff into a serpent. Pharaoh's magicians replicated the feat, but Moses' serpent devoured theirs. Still, Pharaoh refused, clinging to his power and his slaves. God unleashed a series of plagues upon Egypt, turning the Nile to blood. Frogs swarmed the land, covering everything in a slimy layer. Gnats and flies tormented the Egyptians, biting and buzzing incessantly. Livestock died, crops failed, and boils erupted on the people's skin. Hail and fire rained down, destroying what little remained. Locusts devoured the rest, leaving the land barren and desolate. Darkness enveloped Egypt for 3 days, a suffocating blanket of fear. After each plague, Pharaoh promised to release the Israelites, then reneged. Finally, the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn son in every Egyptian family. The cries of mourning echoed through the land, even reaching Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh, broken and defeated, summoned Moses and Aaron. "Leave," he commanded. "Take your people and go." Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, a throng of people, animals, and belongings. They carried unleavened bread, having no time to let it rise. They marched towards the desert, towards an uncertain future, but a future of freedom. God guided them, a pillar of cloud by day, shielding them from the scorching sun. At night, a pillar of fire illuminated their path, warding off the darkness. The Israelites rejoiced, singing songs of praise and thanksgiving. They had escaped slavery, but their journey had just begun. The desert stretched before them, vast and unforgiving. Challenges awaited them, tests of their faith and resilience. But they were free, and they had God's promise of a better land. They looked towards the horizon, their hearts filled with hope. The pillar of cloud moved forward, leading them onward. Their journey was far from over, but they were no longer slaves. They were the people of God, on their way to the promised land. Each step was a testament to their newfound liberty. The weight of oppression lifted from their shoulders. Children laughed, their voices echoing in the desert air. Old men and women walked with newfound strength. The spirit of freedom coursed through their veins. They were a nation reborn, forged in the fires of adversity. Their eyes were fixed on the pillar of cloud, their guide and protector. They trusted in God's promise, even amidst the uncertainty. They were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For they knew that God was with them, always and forever. The sun beat down, but their spirits remained high. They shared stories of their past, remembering the hardships they had endured. They dreamed of their future, a land of milk and honey. They encouraged one another, strengthening their resolve. They were a community bound together by faith and hope. Their journey was a testament to the power of belief. They would not be deterred. They would not give up. They would reach the promised land, no matter the cost. Their faith was their shield. Their hope was their sword. They marched on, towards their destiny. The pillar of fire glowed brighter as night fell. God's presence was a constant reassurance, a beacon in the darkness. The Israelites marched, guided by the pillar of cloud, a beacon of hope. Pharaoh, in his opulent throne room, seethed with anger and regret. "They will not escape," he roared, summoning his charioteers and soldiers. The Egyptian army, a formidable force, mobilized with swift precision. Chariots thundered across the desert, kicking up clouds of sand. The Israelites reached the shores of the Red Sea, a vast, daunting expanse. Panic spread like wildfire among the people. Escape seemed impossible. The Egyptian army appeared on the horizon, a menacing wave of destruction. "We are trapped," cried a woman, clutching her child tightly. "Why did you bring us here to die?" a man shouted at Moses. Moses stood firm, his face etched with determination and faith. "Do not be afraid," Moses declared, his voice resonating with conviction. "Stand firm, and you will see the salvation the Lord will bring you today." He raised his staff towards the heavens, seeking divine intervention. The people watched, their faces a mixture of fear and desperate hope. God spoke to Moses, "Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea. Divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." A powerful east wind began to blow, growing stronger with each passing moment. The wind whipped the water into a frenzy, churning and swirling. The sea began to recede, revealing the seabed beneath. Walls of water rose on either side, held back by God's mighty power. A dry path appeared through the heart of the Red Sea, an impossible passage. The Israelites gasped in awe and disbelief at the miraculous sight. Moses stepped onto the dry seabed, leading the way with unwavering resolve. The people followed, their fear slowly replaced by a glimmer of hope. Children clung to their parents, their eyes wide with wonder and trepidation. The pillar of fire illuminated the path, guiding them through the darkness. The wind howled, a constant reminder of God's awesome power. The walls of water towered above them, a breathtaking and terrifying sight. They walked through the sea, a nation on a journey to freedom. The seabed was surprisingly firm, allowing for steady passage. The Egyptian army, blinded by arrogance, charged into the seabed. Their chariots sank into the sand, their wheels spinning uselessly. Confusion and panic spread among the Egyptian soldiers. God looked down upon the Egyptian army and threw them into a panic. Chariot wheels began to come off, making them hard to steer. The Israelites continued their march, their hope growing with each step. As the last of the Israelites reached the opposite shore, they looked back. The Egyptian army was still struggling in the middle of the sea. God spoke to Moses again, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots." Moses stretched out his hand, obeying God's command without hesitation. the walls of water began to collapse, surging forward with immense force. The Egyptian army was engulfed by the returning waters, their cries lost in the roar. Chariots and soldiers were swept away, disappearing beneath the waves. The Red Sea returned to its original state, a vast and impassable barrier. The Israelites watched in awe and gratitude as their enemies perished. They had witnessed God's power and faithfulness in a profound way. A wave of relief washed over them, replacing their fear with joy. They were free, delivered from the clutches of Pharaoh and his army. Moses raised his hands in praise, leading the people in a song of thanksgiving. Miriam, Moses' sister, took a tambourine and led the women in dance. The Israelites sang and danced, celebrating their miraculous deliverance. "I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted," they chanted. "The horse and its rider he has hurled into the sea." Their voices echoed across the desert, a testament to God's unwavering love. The journey through the Red Sea was a defining moment in their history. It solidified their faith and strengthened their bond with God. They continued their journey towards the Promised Land, forever grateful for God's salvation. The children laughed and played, their hearts filled with joy and hope. The old people wept tears of gratitude, their prayers answered after years of suffering. Moses stood among them, a leader chosen by God, his mission accomplished. He knew that their journey was far from over, but they were now free. They had witnessed God's power and his love for his people. They had crossed the Red Sea and escaped the clutches of Pharaoh. They were on their way to the Promised Land, a land flowing with milk and honey. The sun began to rise, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. A new day dawned, a new beginning for the Israelites, a people redeemed. They gathered their belongings, preparing to continue their journey. They looked back at the Red Sea, a reminder of God's power and their deliverance. They turned their faces towards the desert, their hearts filled with hope and faith. God's presence was with them, a constant guide, a pillar of cloud by day, and a pillar of fire by night, reassuring them of his unwavering support. They were the chosen people, and God would lead them to their destiny. The journey through the Red Sea was a testament to their faith. It was a symbol of their liberation from slavery and oppression. It was a reminder that with God, all things are possible. The Israelites continued their journey, their hearts filled with gratitude. They would never forget the miracle of the Red Sea. They would always remember God's power and his love. They would carry the story of the Red Sea with them always. A story of faith, obedience, and the boundless power of God. The story of how God delivered his people from slavery. The story of Moses and the Red Sea, a timeless tale of hope.